This book is called That's Exactly the Way It Wasn't by James Stevenson. This story is about two children, Marianne and Louie. They are listening to their grandpa tell stories, and their Uncle Wayne tells stories, and those stories don't ever agree. This is kind of a fun, crazy story about family memories. The author and the illustrator is James Stevenson. He does many wonderful books for young learners. He also does cartoons for grown-ups in a magazine called The New Yorker. This is one of his cartoons. Two women are watching. One of them talks about her husband and says, "Martin and Rusty are virtually inseparable," as you watch Martin crawl out the dog door. If you think that's funny, that's kind of what happens in this book. "Hello, Marianne. Hello, Louie," called Grandpa. "Enjoying a bit of fresh air on this splendid day?" "No, Grandpa," said Louie. "Our parents told us to take a long walk because Marianne was arguing all the time." "No, I wasn't," said Marianne. "Louie was." "See," said Louie, "she's doing it again." "Isn't that strange?" said Grandpa. "My brother Wayne had the same problem." "No, I didn't, but you did." "Me, Wayne?" "Definitely." "That's not the way I remember it," said Grandpa. "How do you remember it?" asked Louie. "Well, when Wayne and I were young, we lived in a white house on Elm Street," said Grandpa. "Excuse me," said Uncle Wayne, "a red house on Maple Avenue." With our yellow cat, Hilda," said Grandpa. "I believe you mean our black dog, Oliver," said Uncle Wayne. "In those days," said Grandpa, "Wayne always howled if he didn't get his own way." "Not exactly," said Uncle Wayne. "I never got my own way. You were always bossing me around." "Just do whatever I tell you to do, and never do anything I tell you not to do." "One day our parents got fed up with us," said Grandpa. "Take a good long walk, boys, and don't come back until you agree on something." "We walked for miles and miles," said Grandpa. "Didn't you get tired?" said Marianne. "Yes," said Grandpa, "especially when Wayne made me carry him." "Couldn't you and Wayne agree on something and then just go home?" Oh, I tried." "Hot, isn't it, Wayne?" "Nope." "Must be getting late, Wayne." "Early." "Steep hill, Wayne." "Flat." "Nice view, Wayne." "Icky." Finally, I just couldn't go any farther. "Does that sound like a landslide, Wayne?" "Nope." "Doesn't it look like a landslide?" "Nope." Ouch! It feels like a landslide." "Nope." "Then what do you call this, Wayne?" "Rocks." "Can't you agree with me once? Admit it, this is a landslide." "Nope." "Did you and Wayne get hurt, Grandpa?" "We were very lucky." "Why, Grandpa?" "Because," said Grandpa, "that's when the armadillo came along." "Hello there. Landslidey, isn't it?" "The armadillo gave us shelter until the landslide ended." "Are you boys okay?" "We're fine, thank you." Then he curled up. "I have to roll along." "Thank you." That was a very nice armadillo, wasn't it, Wayne? "Sure. Have it your way, Wayne. Don't agree with me." "Wayne?" "Where was Wayne, Grandpa?" "I ran back down the hill." "Did you see my little brother?" "When I uncurled, he fell out and kept on rolling." I followed the whales, said Grandpa. And you found Weenie? No, I found a large group of ducks and geese. How could you hear Weenie? I couldn't. I hushed hundreds of ducks and geese. Quiet, please. Shh, 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 shh. May I have silence? At last, I had it down to one. But it wasn't Weenie. It was just a parrot imitating the ducks and geese. Excuse me, but that's not quite what happened. No? What did happen, Uncle Weenie? During the landslide, your grandpa kept telling the armadillo what to do, said Uncle Weenie. Look out, here's a big rock. Move to the right. Here's another one. There's another one. Here comes a couple. Move to the left. Crouch down. Not so far. As soon as the landslide ended, the armadillo and I ran away, Uncle Weenie continued. Whew, is he bossy? Yump. I believe the worst is over. Are you hiding? Yump. Where? Here. Bet you can't find me. Behind rock. How did you know? When the armadillo went home, I looked for your grandpa. I found him arguing with a parrot. You're not Weenie. Did I say I was? I am Weenie. I know that. Where did you go? Weird. What happened then, Uncle Weenie? Your grandpa can tell you. We walked several miles. Weenie still wouldn't agree to anything. Did you give up? No, because something good suddenly happened. We walked off the edge of a cliff. That was good. It must be close to supper time. I'm getting pretty hungry, aren't you? No, whoops. It seemed like my big chance with Weenie, said Grandpa. Would you agree with me, Weenie, that we are now falling? Maybe. Maybe? What if I get a second opinion? Don't know. Excuse me? Yes? Would you say that my brother and I are falling? Well, let me see. On the one hand, you might say, but on the other hand, perhaps, well, yes. Thanks so much. Well, I guess you have to agree, Weenie, that we're falling. It was pretty dark for a while. Thud. No, not anymore. Where had you landed, Grandpa? Inside a huge cave. It was cold and dark. Are you all right, Weenie? Yump. You'd probably like to get out of here, wouldn't you? Just a moment, Uncle Weenie said. To the best of my memory, that was not a cave. What was it? Asked Mary Ann. Are you all right, Weenie? Yump. It was an iguana's mouth, said Uncle Weenie. I believe you're right, said Grandpa. Now that I think of it. Weenie made a terrible fuss. Finally, the iguana couldn't stand it another minute. Quick, Weenie, he's opening his mouth. If I may interrupt for a moment, that's not how we got out. How did you get out, Uncle Weenie? Your grandpa made a speech to the iguana. It's getting late. Our supper, no doubt, is on the table. Furthermore, Mr. Iguana, It is only proper. My brother and I, we were on rashes and sausages. The speech went on and on until the iguana got so bored he began to yawn. Yeah. We jumped out. We fell through a lot of smoke and landed on something hot and bubbly. There was a lot of shaking. Sounds like a volcano, Grandpa. Right. But it wasn't. What was it, Uncle Weenie? It was a large hot cherry pie. Why was it shaking? Because it was about to erupt, said Grandpa. I want to go home. Me too. Did you say you too? Yump. And that cherry pie, it did erupt, said Uncle Weenie. Blam! We sailed through the air, said Grandpa, and arrived home just in time for supper. Thump, thump. Did you boys have a nice walk together? Delightful. Yump. Do you and Uncle Weenie agree that's what happened, Grandpa? Absolutely. Totally. And we agree on something else. Ice cream. Yes, indeed. Where did these cherries come from? The end. There are many, many more books by James Stevenson. Be warned, some of them are a little silly. This one has been, that's exactly the way it wasn't.